Even though we intentionally wanted it to be fashion forward and inspirational from the Sherlock Holmes canon and all the information we had, looked even at what other shows had done before, because we also don't want to repeat what has already been done and make it something new and fresh on our own. You kind of have to know the base of what the story is with the Sherlock Holmes to start creating that character. You don't want to go too left field. And even with Watson and with Morris, it was very classic and just very high-end men's fashion, because we still wanted to have that proper British styling, but in a new way, in our new version of it.
Hi, I'm Gordon Burkell from Filmmaker U. At Filmmaker U, we create courses for film professionals to deepen and diversify your existing skill set. You can learn more at filmmakeru.com. Of course, follow us on Instagram at filmmaker_u. Every week, we interview a film professional to discuss their work, and this week, I'm joined by costume designer Kerry Weinrauch, whose work includes the Winchesters, Nancy Drew, and more recently, Watson, just to name a few. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
I guess my first question for you is, you started out as a like designing clothes basically, and sort of
I
shifted
did.
into costume design.
Yeah.
So, can you give us a bit of background in your own personal design approach?
Um, I think for me, it's all about styling. It's like I started off in fashion design, and then I went into fashion styling for commercials, editorial, music videos. And for me, it's really about fashion and what looks good and making the actors look good. Um, it's really like I love costume design, because the second you can see what they're wearing, you're already making judgment as to who that person is or what they are, whether they're good or good, the good guy, the bad guy. Um, yeah, so I really it's all about fashion for me, really, and the story.
I sort of got into VFX by accident. I always had a technical interest in photography, and especially as it relates to movie making. There's something magical about the ability to believe something is happening when it isn't. So I went as a live action producer into a company called Bob Abel and Associates. Then I would have to, have a meeting about how do we do this effect that's in this commercial, and I never got the straight answer I was looking for. I have camera knowledge, so it's like, since it's kind of ambiguous, why don't I just grab a camera and we'll try it out. You have to figure out what tells the story and use every trick in the book to solve your problem. I am Rob Legato, and this is my course on visual effects.
Well, speaking of the story, like it all starts with the script. So when you're getting the script, like how do you like to approach things? Do you make notes in it? Do you like what do you do when you first get your script?
I'm very analog, so I off my script, and I like you said, I make tons of notes, and then from that, to make notes on the script, separate side notes, and then I start digging in with my research.
Mm.
And then of course, like all the different questions that you have from the script that you need to ask, like the writers, the directors, the showrunners, and all that kind of thing. And then from that, I start building boards for the characters.
Mm.
Um, and after that, we get our boards approved, talking to the cast, because it's really a collaborative, um, creative experience with the cast, with the directors, with the showrunners. And I really feel it's really important to talk to the cast as to how they see and how they feel their character should be portrayed.
Mm.
Um, and it's great because we can get some insight that we didn't have. And like, because the cast may be thinking like, oh, my person's like this, we talk even what listen to, what kind of hobbies they might have. And then of course we do the basics, like what kind of colors, what kind of fit, like what works on their body best and what they feel looks best on them. Because we don't want to start shopping and, buy all these colors or styles that are just not going to work on the person.
Well, there's a couple questions I have from your answer here because it was very thorough. I'm wondering, I guess you mentioned research for a show like Watson. What's interesting is, it's based on Sherlock Holmes, but it's modernized and all this stuff. So, like, did you still use, I guess not, obviously you wouldn't bring in tons of designs from when Sherlock was originally written, but like, how did that inspire you, the original sort of era?
It did completely inspire it. Even with Watson himself, even though we intentionally wanted him to be fashion forward and inspirational, in the beginning, look from the Sherlock Holmes canon and all the information we had, looked even at what other shows had done before, because we also don't want to repeat what has already been done and make it something new and fresh on our own.
Hmm.
Um, and you also want to know what the history is, because I feel like you kind of have to know the canon, or the base of what the story is with the Sherlock
Hmm.
Holmes, to start creating that character. You don't want to go too left field. And even with Watson and with Morris, we kept him in suiting that was very uh classic and just very high-end men's fashion, because we still wanted to have that proper kind of British styling, but in a new way, in our new version of it, and with different fabrics and different colors.
So what was Watson's sort of, I guess, color scheme or look for the show?
I mean, with Morris and with Watson, we really wanted his character to stand out, of course, as the lead, and Morris himself is very bold in his personal fashion choices. So it
Hmm.
was really great for us because we could really run with that and use bold colors, use bold plaids and prints and um, color combination. Like something very rare on TV. You don't usually get to be that bold with a lead
Hmm.
and with color. And it's just, color is for me so important, because it's just so visually, it catches your eye so quickly when you're watching a TV show. And really, and color helps tell a story. Even like, a red, for instance, which we rarely use because it's such a powerful color. It
Hmm.
can mean danger, it can mean love, it can mean so many different things psychologically to people. So I really think very deeply about what colors we're going to use on each person, because the color itself has so much meaning.
No, you also in that answer you talk about the actor's influence on what they're going to wear, how they're going to look. So I'm wondering, in this show you have one actor playing two people, and I'm wondering in that situation, how do you tackle that? Because like does the actor come in and sort of present to you their performance or how they're going to perform it or their character's background or like because it's the same actor for twice here and we don't want them to look exactly the
Yeah.
same.
Uh, So what I generally do is I'll send the actors my boards
Hmm.
and then we discuss them. For Peter playing Adam and Stevens, I mean, it was challenging in the beginning, but it was also really an exciting challenge to take on. But we were very specific about how we were going to visually separate the two characters. Peter, the actor playing both twins, is very thoughtful. We had a long conversation before hobbies each twin would have, like what music each of them would listen to, what their apartments would look like, because we really felt that that inspired how we were going to dress each of them. Excuse me. For Adam, he was much more laid back, like a free-spirited twin. I went with more of like a New York street indie, like music, indie music style. And for
Hmm.
Stevens, he's like more uptight and cynical, very stoic and closed off of the two. So went much way of dressing, very buttoned up and tucked in,
Hmm.
just to really keep them separate. And then also color played a big part, these two characters, because we went for like sun bleached earth tones for Adam and more grayed out hues and pastels for Stevens. And Peter was really interesting because even in the fittings, when he took a photo as Adam, he stood differently for how when he took a photo for Stevens.
Hmm.
And it really helped us because we wanted to make it believable in the separation between that we were two different people.
Hmm. So one of the things I'm interested in is also how uh, you know, for story arcs and stuff, how in Watson, like how did the wardrobe shift or change for the different characters in terms of the story arcs?
We use color once again because it's such a
Yeah.
big storyteller. And then we use in the way that if somebody's having a low moment, like their clothes might be like a little bit more unkempt or more put together or stronger. Like for times when when Ingrid is being like really bold, we went for more structured, stronger looks. And
Mhm.
so we really use the storyline and the arcs to visually tell the story with the clothing.
Probably one of the smartest things I've ever done for my career. He gave me all the tools that I needed to be able to jump into a new career.
Getting myself into a mindset, thinking like an editor, and being around people that I can talk to on that level was really invaluable to me.
A lot of the things that I learned from that class, I still think about.
I loved the classroom. I loved the computer stations. We built a sense of community.
And it also instills a lot of confidence in you to take that and go out into the world.
After I took the class, I felt very prepared to take the next step.
I owe Manhattan Workshop the career that I have right now.
Things have been going great, and I really have the Manhattan Workshop to thank for that.
No, you also, for the villain in this, they're supposed to blend into the crowd and sort of disappear, but you don't want your actors to disappear. How did you tackle that
Randall?
situation? Yeah.
I mean, he was intentional. We wanted, because we talked about him, that we wanted him to be a person who could fade into a crowd, to make it like a little bit scarier, just like kind of give it a little bit more, mystery. So it's just like almost stalkerish. And so he could blend in. He was every man everywhere, and he could be anybody. And so people looking over their shoulder, especially with Shinwell, he never knows who Moriarty is. And so we wanted to keep him a blank slate. It could be any guy on the street, intentionally wanting him to fade into crowds.
Now, is there a particular look or styling that you did for the show that was sort of difficult to execute, but you're really proud of the outcome?
It wasn't really difficult to execute. I really loved Morris's looks, like his really bold double-breasted suits with the turtlenecks underneath. It's a style that you don't see very often, and I feel like really kind of defines his character. It was really finding the pieces, and for Morris was finding the pieces in these bold colors. Because as you know, menswear, especially in suiting, a lot of it is very toned down, and you get your blues and your grays and your blacks. And so we really had to search to find these bolder colors, and like these plaids that had different colors interwoven into them that really on camera pop through and almost seem kind of iridescent. Like there's one suit that's purple but looks blue in certain scenes. Like it's really just the shopping and sourcing like the perfect character. That's really the challenge, which is, you have a great team that just is really good at what they do. And for the shoppers, everybody gets their own character. So that they could really concentrate on that character. And then they're there in the fittings with me so that they can see what works, what doesn't. And we can have discussions as we do the fittings with the actor, so that the next time we shop, we have notes and can carry on and like improve things that need to be improved, and things that we don't want to shop any further, the things we know aren't going to work.
What was the working relationship in terms of, because it's a team effort on films, and the different departments could impact your work significantly, like cinematography, colorist, set decorating. So what was the working relationship with them to make sure that everyone sort of clicked on this show?
Closely with the DOPs and with the production designer, because both those departments very much impact what we're doing in costumes. And we also want to work with them so that, like what Dustin, the production designer, was putting, or the colors he was using on the sets, I want to make sure I'm using colors that'll make our actors pop, but also work with his sets and don't look completely off and out of place. And then with the DOP, we have big discussions beforehand. I'll bring like a bunch of different colors, and we look at color ranges as to what's going to work and how kind of bright we can go and how dark we can't go and things like that, to make sure we're not losing a character in scenes or on certain sets.
I have one last question for you that's just sort of a fun way to wrap up the interview. What would you say is your favorite guilty pleasure film or TV show to watch?
Sex and the City.
Yeah, what is it about it? Well, I mean, like the costumes, obviously, but anything else in that, or?
I just love the costumes. It's just, it's like it's dated, but I can still watch it and be like, I love that outfit.
Yeah.
I just love how the outfits on Kerry, funny, same name, are put together, but with such bravery and just
Mhm.
no, haberdashery is the wrong word, but just everything's a mishmash. And I love dressing like that myself. And I love like being able to combine things that look like they shouldn't go together, but then end up looking like having aspirational outfits. And just because as a costume designer, you really want to inspire people and have people look at costumes and be like, that looks really cool. Like, where would I get that? Like, I feel like we did that with Ingrid's
Mhm.
outfits. We used a lot of more independent designers and small boutiques. And we really kind of went a little bit outside of the box of what you normally see on TV with Ingrid, especially for a medical procedure. You don't usually see somebody being as fashion forward as her.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for letting me interview you today.
Thank you so much, Gordon. I was happy to be here.
And that's it for our show this week, everyone. Make sure to check us out at filmmakeru.com and, of course, on Instagram at filmmaker_you. I'm Gordon Burkell. Thanks for watching.